Alright, let's get number 4 solved here, where it says water is poured into a tank at a constant rate of 150 gallons per hour, and at the same time water is drained from the tank at G of T, gallons per hour, or gallons is a function of hour, 150 minus 150 times 0.8 raised to the T power. In part A says, what is the net change in the gallons within the tank over the interval 0 to 4 hours? Well, so in other words, what we want is how much volume is in. Well, if it's flowing in at 150 gallons per hour, that would be the integral 150 dt from 0 to 4. And we would subtract off what's draining out from 0 to 4, and that's 150 minus 150 times 0.8 to the t power dt. Alright, this, good time to get out the trusty calculator, and I have 600 gallons going in, and I got 203.125 gallons going out, and that leads to a net change of 396.875 gallons. So there's 396.875 gallons increase in the tank. Okay. Now part B says, suppose the tank originally held 300 gallons and has a capacity of 1,000 gallons, and upon arriving at home after work, Miss Flowover remembered she'd forgotten to shut the inlet pipe filling the tank. She seems to do that a lot. If she let it run until she got back to work in the morning, it would have been running for 16 hours. Must she drive back into work, or can she wait until morning without having the tank overflow? Well, here, the key number that we're looking at is 1,000 minus 300. So that's 700. That's our key value right there. We want our answer to be less than or equal to that. So we can use the same setup we had in the last problem, but this time we're going to integrate from 0 to 16. And that's going to be the 150 dt minus the integral 0 to 16. And that's 150 minus 150 times 0.8 raised to the t power dt. And when I do that, I get 2,400 gallons flowing in and 1,746.708 gallons flowing out. And that gives me a net change of 653.291, which is less than 700. So therefore, she's okay. Doesn't need to drive back in. Alright, that was number 4. Now number 6 from the other page says that water's being drained at a rate of 15 minus 2t, and t is greater than or equal to 0. And R is in gallons per minute, and T is in minutes. Part A asks, how many gallons are drained from the tank within the first 2 minutes? Well, when they ask for an amount, generally they're asking for an integral. So we're going to integrate from 0 to 2, first 2 minutes. 15 minus 2t dt. Okay, and just for fun, I'll do this one by hand. It's 15t minus t squared. We're evaluating that from 0 to 2, and that becomes 15 times 2 minus 2 squared minus 0. Because if I put 0 in for t, I get 0. And that is going to give me, would appear to be 26. Thank you. Yes, everyone, that was Sophia.
Who are you talking to?
I'm making a video for my AP class.
Oh,
So you are now going to be on YouTube.
okay.
Yes, that was her and her little minion. So, that's part A. We had 26 gallons flowing in, or draining, flowing out in the first 2 minutes. Now for part B, it asks, how many minutes does it take to drain 40 gallons? Well, that means that 40 is going to equal the integral from 0 to x, and that's going to be of 15 minus 2t dt. So 40 is going to equal 15, and it's going to end up being x minus x squared, right? We get the same integral, substitute in x instead of a number, and I get that. Well, this is going to tell me that 0 equals x squared minus 15x plus 40. That thing doesn't factor nicely at all. So this would be a good time to use your calculator or the quadratic formula, some way, shape, or form to solve that quadratic. And I got x equals 3.469 seconds. So that's how long it took to drain out 40 gallons. And that was part B. Now, part C says if the tank originally held 100 gallons, will the tank ever become empty? Well, essentially what they're asking here is the volume in the tank ever going to reach 100 gallons, or are you ever going to get 100 gallons out? And if you graph R of t, you get something that looks kind of like this. Alright? And this down here is going to be the maximum amount, believe it or not, that has been drained. Maximum amount drained. Alright, and this would be the 100 that you started with. Well, as you can see, we actually never get down to 0. So the answer is no. The tank is never empty. Now that bonus question, what's the minimum amount? Well, you would take this, that maximum amount drained, and that's actually like 43.75. And we would go 100 minus 43.75, and we would get 56.25 gallons. And that's the minimum amount. Alright, well, there you go. Have a nice rest of your weekend. See you on Monday.